Bobby Fischer's life was a whirlwind of chaos. He was an absolutely insane man in so many ways. But when it came to chess, he was an absolute genius, a true master of the board. Today, I'm thrilled to take you through one of his best games ever, a masterpiece that showcases his incredible skill. In 10 minutes from now, you will learn exactly how Bobby Fischer plays chess. This game happened when Bobby Fischer was 13 and he was facing one of the strongest international master, Donald Byrne. Knight f3 was Donald Byrne's choice against this young opponent, and Fischer answered with knight f6, and after the move c4 we have the classic English. g6 was played by Bobby Fischer, entering the classic King's Indian, and after a usual move order we landed in the main line of the main line. White, instead of playing e4, which is the most popular line now, decided to play bishop f4, a very popular line back then. It keeps White's choice flexible. d5, attacking the c-pawn. This move has successfully given young Fischer the equality, and then his opponent played the natural queen b3, which was considered the top line back then, but now Stockfish found the disgusting c5 that gives black the edge. But this was 1956. The 2,300 rated Bobby Fischer did not have access to that line, and instead played the second best move, d takes c4. Donald Byrne happily recaptured the pawn on c4, and after the move c6 was played, the move e4 was finally played. You might be wondering, how is this genius? I've already spent almost 2 minutes on this video, and I'm tempted to leave, but if you stick around, I'll reward you with a brilliant sacrifice that'll blow your mind. And another piece was developed for black. White developed the rook, but this move gave black the choice to pin the knight on f3, and the mistake was spotted immediately, with knight b6 gaining a tempo to the queen, and opens up the light squared bishop so he can pin the knight on f3. Queen c5 was played, perhaps going for a quick win, and that was the beginning of the end. Bishop pins the knight, and here White should have just defended with bishop e2, but he makes the fatal mistake. Fischer was about to unleash one of the dirtiest moves in chess history. This is a game so good that it won the game of the century. Sister Abigail! This is the type of move Bobby Fischer was casually dropping at the age of 13. If White takes the knight will capture on e4, and here White has 3 options: queen takes e7, bishop takes e7, and queen c8. We're going to cover them all. If White plays queen takes e7, we have queen a5 check. And after White blocks this check with a series of captures, can you spot the move that wins a queen for black? If White plays bishop takes e7, we capture the queen with our knight, White takes our queen, and we take their knight. The bishop retreats, and after another round of trading, we end up a pawn ahead despite the knight sacrifice. Lastly, if White defends the bishop on g5 with queen c8, we capture the knight on f3 and deliver a check on a5. After White blocks, we take the bishop with our knight, gaining a -4 advantage. And remember, all of this has to be calculated when you play knight f4. If White is smart enough not to take the knight in the game, we will capture the knight on c3 ourselves, and White must recapture with the b-pawn, because if White captures with the queen, we can take on a4 and end up a pawn ahead. So, after b-pawn takes, we cannot take the e-pawn because White can fork with a capture on e7, or can we? Bobby Fischer is sacrificing an exchange with knight takes e4, because after bishop takes e7, we swing the queen to b6, which is what happened in the game. If White was greedy enough to take the rook, we recapture with the bishop, and after the queen moves, we take the c-pawn with our knight. Pause the video to see what happens if the queen takes the knight. So, after the rook moves, we deliver a check on e1, and the game is over. But obviously Donald Byrne saw this coming, so he decided to play bishop c4, preparing to castle. For the third time in the game, Bobby unleashed a brilliant move with knight takes c3. Because if you capture the knight with the queen, I can play rook a 1 to e1, regaining the piece and ending up a pawn ahead. If you try to guard the bishop, I'll just attack it again, and it's pinned, you can't escape. So instead, he plays his bishop back with a tempo. And if you look at this position, Bobby Fischer is losing. His queen and knight are both under attack, and he cannot defend them both, meaning he's about to lose a knight. Rook e8 check, the only move, was played, and after the king moves to f1. In this position, Bobby Fischer could play knight b5 to save a piece, but he sees the position differently than you guys watching this video right now. The move he played clearly proved he is a genius. Pause the video if you can figure out what he played. Sister Abigail! If this was the game of the century, then this is the move of the century. This time, white has to take the queen, because if you capture my bishop, it's mate in 6, starting with queen b5 check. So after he takes the queen, Bobby captures the bishop with a check and unleashes a chess tactic called the windmill. First, he takes the free pawn, then checks again and prepares to capture the rook. But first, he takes the bishop with a tempo. Once the queen moves, the rook attacks the queen again, and every single piece Fischer has is active. Finally, he captures the rook. White played h3 to avoid back rank issues, and another pawn was captured by the rook. kh2 was played by white, followed by knight takes pawn. The rook moves, and after exchanging rooks, Bobby played bishop d5 to attack the king. White brings the knight back into the game, and black follows suit. White attacks a pawn, but black simply pushes. White tries again to create counterplay, but Bobby avoids everything with a +5 material advantage. White attempts a final attack, but Bobby escapes the pin, activates his bishop, and ends the game with a beautiful checkmate.